Constantine and Nicea. I was just going through the comments of this video an ex-Mormon made, and continually I hear Constantine and Nicea. That it was Constantine that stopped revelation from coming, and it usurped revelation. And Columbus discovered America on the Mayflower that landed at Jamestown. Or Abraham Lincoln was the first president of the United States. That's like saying that. It's a garbled mix of nothingness. How is that possible? Did Constantine rule in India? There were Christians in India, communities, before Constantine. The Persian Empire, his enemy, there were Christian communities there. The emergent Ghassanid and Sassanid. And anyways, he didn't, did he not care about Christianity, or did he? People can't make up their minds. They don't even read. You can read Eusebius, Suleiman. Go to the actual primary sources. Even Procopius touches on it. It's mind-boggling. What? But that's Mormons, man. I hate to say it, but the Mormons and this weird form of atheist on YouTube. Not all people who don't believe in God, but the weird form of atheism on YouTube, like Deity Free D and her followers. You can't do you have a staunch opinion, but you won't go back and look at the primary sources. You won't look at the other side. You won't have use the critical historical method when you look at things. You just can't do that. Everything has to be based on faith or a ideological stance. How about let's look at the information and see what it tells us. The canon of Scripture. When did Constantine? Nicea had nothing to do with the Trinity, nothing to do with the canon of Scripture, nothing to do with. Can a single Mormon tell me what happened at Nicea? The Nicene Creed only had one word injected into it. It was an ancient baptismal creed that looks a hell of a lot like most other ancient baptismal creeds. It was I think it was the one that came from Antioch. And the rest of the Nicene Creed comes from the Council of Constantinople. You can read all of the writings of what is called the early church fathers, people arguing with each other and against each other and against other heretics who we don't have their writings, but they're copying, refuting it, paragraph by paragraph, so we actually do have their writing. Not just one side got written down. Some of the early breaks in the church and reunifications, and then early breaks, and then they stay broken away. How did it? Ethiopia? When did the Roman Empire rule Ethiopia or Ireland? It's just ludicrous. The Vandals had their own form of Christianity. They were enemies and outside of the Roman Empire. They were Arians. I just don't. It really just and it's not a religious thing. It's just history, man. It pisses off the historian in me. In me, that's what. God, 15 years of reading ancient documents from the Hasmonean period through to the Byzantine period. And then people come on YouTube and um, I don't get it. I mean, you couldn't do that with math. People try to do that with science and they get laughed off. But history, I mean, did King Arthur fight at the Battle of Hastings? What the hell? I just saddens me. It's just the sad state of education. I mean, it's as if the oldest thing that people will go back to is Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, written by a very biased, irritated, spoiled little rich boy hundreds of years ago who had extremely limited sources. People say, "Well, I read this book, I read that book." Don't go back to the actual ancient sources. If you want to read a historian, read the historians that lived at that time, or around that time: Eusebius, Procopius, Josephus, Tacitus, hell, Pliny, even Suetonius and Celsus. I mean, even the enemies of Christianity. The friggin' Talmud. Gosh.